raise your hand if you use Facebook. Anybody? Yes? Yes? The best way to follow all of our events at Dar Al-Hijrah and through social services, all of our classes, all of our events, is to follow our Facebook page. So if you use Facebook, please, before you leave today, pull out your phone. It's Dar Al-Hijrah Social Services page. It's different from the Dar Al-Hijrah Islamic Center page. And it's the social services page that has all of these events, times, dates, classes, programs, everything, very current. So if you'll follow that page, that's the best way to stay in touch with us. Also, I want to remind you that on Sunday, April 7th, this is 3 weeks from this coming Sunday, Taste of Islam. This is the biggest event of the year here at Dar Al-Hijrah. It's a big open house with food, tours of the masjid, a chance to ask questions, meet the staff. It's really a fun community event. So mark your calendars for April 7th. It's from noon to 5 on that day. That's a Sunday, from noon to 5, Taste of Islam. I also want to let you know, I want to remind you that we've started a new volunteer driving program here at Dar Al-Hijrah. This is for you. It was a result of your comments last year on evaluations that transportation is a challenge for you. If you are over 50, you can enroll, or if your mothers, aunts, anyone, family members are over 50 and do not drive, they can enroll in the Dar Al-Hijrah volunteer driving program. It's called DA Rides, D-A-H, DA Rides. They can enroll in the program, and then they're able to schedule short trips in the area to the grocery store, pharmacy, to programs here at Dar Al-Hijrah. Hayla in the social services office is the ride coordinator for this program, and she is the one that can help you get enrolled. She's here this morning, and she'll be at the table in the back to help you fill out the application if you're interested. Okay? Any questions at all? Great. Okay, our speaker this morning was our most popular speaker last year at this program. We have Cathy Turner with us from Virginia Hospital Center. She's speaking today about fall prevention, which is very important, very important. We have our full schedule for this spring session on the resource table. Please make sure you stop and grab one of those, and also just check to see if there's any other literature that can be helpful to you or that you can take home and to a family member. All right? Just give us a minute here to switch over the mics and the PowerPoint presentation. If you haven't had something to eat yet, please help yourself to something to eat, and we'll get started here in just a minute. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to Stacy for having me back. I always like getting out in the community and speaking. And this morning I'm going to talk about, I think, is a really important topic. It's fall prevention, because if we look at one of the biggest things that brings people to an emergency room, especially for seniors, it is a fall. So if we take a look, and I'm going to start by showing you why I think it's important, some statistics. Take a look at some of these numbers. Falls are the leading cause of fatal and non-fatal injuries for older Americans. 1 in 4 older adults fall each year. Every 11 seconds, an older adult is treated in the emergency room for a fall. Every 19 seconds, an older adult dies from a fall. Falls result in injuries like hip fractures, broken bones, head injuries, and then more than 2.8 million older adults are treated in emergency rooms each year, resulting in over 800,000 hospitalizations. So it's a huge issue. If we take a look even more so, the average hospital cost for a fall injury is over $30,000. And then I think more importantly is taking a look at the quality of life and how quality of life is affected for that individual after they fall. So if an older adult has a fall, it tends to be a vicious circle, right? They fall, they get injured, and then they have a fear of falling again, so they limit themselves. They stop doing activities, they stop going out, they become more isolated, maybe they do less exercise, and guess what? because they're doing less exercise and they're not doing as much, it puts them more at risk for another fall. So it becomes a vicious circle. So you have the fear of falling, and then the things that can come from that. This is just a little chart that kind of talks about what we said, and if you can't see this, you have a copy of the PowerPoint right in front of you. But you can see here, people experience a fall. They feel unsafe, they have less confidence, they have a fear of falling, they decrease their participation in activities, so they get a decline in physical function, which causes them to fall. So again, it becomes a big vicious circle. All right. Again, this is just to put it more in graph form, right? You can see on the far left is 2007, the far right 2016, an increase. And of course, part of that increase is what's happening to our population here in the United States. We're getting older, right? So the number of elderly in our country increases. So as the number of elderly increases, obviously the potential number of falls. The thing is, and the thing that I really emphasize is, a lot of these falls can be prevented. And that's what we're going to focus on today is, what can you do for yourself? Or if you have loved ones that are living with you, or you go visit, what I'm going to show you are things that I want you to pay attention to when you either go to your home or that you go to their home, that you can look around and say, oh my gosh, I need to change this because that is a hazard for my mother, my father, myself, for a fall. All right, so what works in terms of fall prevention? We want to decrease the number of risk factors one by one. So what I mean by consciousness raising is, in order to prevent falls, we have to be aware of the risk factors and then remove or manage the risks one by one. Managing risk means changing behavior. We all know how difficult it is to do that, but bit by bit, what are some minor changes that can be made? So here's a general overview of tips to avoid falls, and then we're going to break this down and we're going to go into more detail. Staying physically active is really important, and we're going to talk about exercise in a little bit. Having your eyes and your hearing tested. People don't think about that, but if you're not having your glasses, if you can't see well, right, you're more at risk. And we don't think about it, but even if you're not hearing well, you're more at risk for a fall. Finding out about the side effects of medication. I looked at your schedule, and I can't remember, Stacy, exactly what date, but I know you have coming up a medication management. And that is really important, because if we look at folks who are 60 or over, most of them are on 3 or more medications. And it is so surprising how many people, both young and old, are not taking their medications properly. They're not taking them at the right time of day. Maybe they're taking 2 medications at the same time, and they shouldn't be. They're taking their medication. Some are supposed to be taken on an empty stomach. Some are supposed to be taken with food. And so it's really important that you take your medications, because some medications have side effects that put you more at risk for a fall. Certainly limiting alcohol consumption, standing up slowly, using assisted devices, being careful on wet and icy surfaces, wearing proper footwear, and making necessary home modifications. So this is a general overview of different tips, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail. All right. So exercise, I always lead with exercise. You were here if you were here at my last lecture, we talked about nutrition, and we talked about exercise, and I think it's so important because if there was a magic pill for health, exercise would be it. It makes a profound difference in both physical and emotional well-being. Specifically for fall risk, you want weight-bearing exercises. So weight-bearing would be something like, right, as easy as walking. What's not weight-bearing? Swimming is a good exercise for cardiovascular, but it's not weight-bearing, so it's not necessarily helping with those muscles. You want a resistance, right? So strength training. So walking, stair climbing, dancing, Tai Chi, yoga. I did this before, and I know I did this when I was here, but let me show you why exercise when it comes to falls. I'm probably driving your cameraman crazy. I forgot to remind him that I don't stand still when I talk. I think I did this before, but for those of you who weren't here, where strength training as we become older is so important is think about little things, simple things that for those of you who are younger might take for granted, but the simple thing of this, right? Getting up out of a chair by yourself. This requires strength, right? Especially a chair like this where I don't have arms. I don't have the handles on the chair, right? So I can't use the armrest to kind of help push me up. Well, if you think of a senior, as they lose muscle strength, if they're not doing any exercise and they have a chair and they can't get up out, they're struggling to get out of the chair because they don't have the strength. So what happens? They sometimes rock a little bit, try and get themselves a little bit of momentum, and then they start and maybe they can't quite do it. And then what happens? If they're lucky, they fall back into their chair. But a lot of times what happens? They start to get up, they get a little bit wobbly, and then they fall over. So one of the simple things that you can do at home and you can show to loved ones is something as simple as practicing strengthening those muscles just by doing a squat, right? So you get in front of the chair and you start working on sitting, and instead of sitting all the way down, you sit, you hover over the chair, and you stand up, and you sit, and you hover over the chair, and you stand up. And what are you doing? You're working all the muscles in your leg to build strength so that you have the ability to do this, right? Other really important exercises are balance exercises. So classes like Tai Chi, if you've ever taken a Tai Chi class, is great for fall prevention, right? Because you're building your balance. And I'm going to stick this in here. I teach 2 exercise classes at the hospital, and I always incorporate balance. So again, something simple you can do, have a chair, you lift up 1 foot, right? And then you hold on to the chair, and if you feel comfortable, you can let go. And you just practice balancing on 1 foot. If you want to go even 1 step farther, what can you do? Close your eyes. And you'll see how your sight affects your balance. You don't think about it, but stand on, I won't have you do it now, but you go stand on 1 foot, have a chair close to you, close your eyes, and all of a sudden, you start to wobble just by doing something as simple as closing your eyes. When we're doing balance exercises, we want to kind of force you. If I'm going like this, what am I doing? I'm doing two things. I'm strengthening the ligaments in my leg so that they can help support me if I go off balance. I'm also teaching my brain what to do if I get on balance, how to catch myself. So that if you're out walking, and you know how some of the curbs have little kind of bumps in them, you're not paying attention and you trip, or in my case, it used to be my little kids I would trip over, now it's my animals that always seem to want to be right at my feet. But if you trip over something, all of a sudden, instead of automatically falling to the ground, if you've been doing balance training, your body has the strength and your brain has the knowledge to say, ooh, I know how to get myself, right myself back up. So strength and balance exercise is very important, right? I think that there are a lot of myths and beliefs as people get older that limit their activity. The belief that inactivity is a natural part of aging, a belief that we can't slow weakening of muscles and bones through exercise. Excuse me. Some people feel embarrassed to exercise at their age. Time constraints, overprotective relatives and friends. But exercise is good for people of any age. It doesn't matter what your physical limitations are. You can do a lot of exercises sitting in a chair, right? You can do leg things. You can do leg lifts, right? You can do all sorts of strengthening exercises. So people who are in wheelchairs or limited mobility still have the ability to do exercises. As a matter of fact, some of the biggest improvements in strength are in seniors. People who are 70 and above who start doing exercise see some of the biggest benefits and some of the biggest gains in strength. All right. We talked about how you want to have your eyes and your hearing tested. Small changes in your hearing and sight can cause you to fall. So sometimes it takes a while to get used to new eyeglasses. If you have a hearing aid, you want to make sure that it fits well and that you wear it. We talked about the medications, that there are some medications that have side effects and put you at risk for falls. Making sure you get enough sleep, limiting your alcohol use as well. The other thing you want to do is making sure that when you stand up slowly. This is especially important for older adults because getting up too quickly can cause their blood pressure to drop really low. All right. If you have if the doctor has given someone that you know a walker or a cane, to make sure that they're using it, right? They gave it to them for a reason, so they want to make sure that they're using that. And then not being afraid to ask for help. We did a class, I'll give you a little story. We did a 8-week fall prevention class over at the hospital. And one of the sessions was on being assertive. And it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to admit that maybe you need a little help. And one of the gentlemen in the class came back the following week and said that he shared a story and said that he had been in a store, and this is a big gentleman, I don't mean big thing, but he's like 6'2", you know. He's been a high-powered executive in his previous life, and he was probably he's probably about 85 now. And he said he was in a store, and it was last winter, and there was a little bit of kind of ice on the ground. He has a walker that he uses, and he was going to leave the store, and he was walking down the sidewalk, and there was a little bit of an obstacle in his way, and he's like, I don't think I can do this. And he was concerned that with the ice in his walker, he was going to fall. He said in his previous, prior to the class, he would have just tried to do it anyway, and there was a high risk he would have fallen because he was afraid to ask for help, right? He's afraid, especially ask strangers, right? But he said, I remembered the conversation of part of fall prevention is it's okay to ask for help. So he went back into the store, and there were a couple of young girls in the store, and he said to one of them, would you mind coming and helping me? I just can't get my walker over this one little thing, and I'm afraid to do it in the ice. And they gladly helped him. And he said, and it was the easiest thing. He goes, on top of that, I had this cute little girl, this cute young woman on my arm helping me down the street. But the reason I bring that up is we're afraid sometimes to ask for help, and we can't be afraid to ask for help when we need it. All right. Proper footwear is also important. You want to wear non-skid, rubber-soled, low-heeled, supportive shoes. All right. You don't want to walk around on stairs or floors in socks or shoe slippers with smooth soles. If you think how many falls occur on steps, especially steps if you've got steps that aren't carpeted and they're slippery, and then you're walking on steps or you're walking on slippers that don't stay on your feet and they're slipping off. Again, for seniors especially, that's a huge risk for falls. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to do a little home checklist. And this is what I love. And I gave all of you have this brochure. So you can take this home, or you can take it to, if you have older family members living with you, or you can take it to a family member's home that you know is a senior. And this is a great, in here, is a great checklist. So you can take this with you to your house or to their house, and you can walk around each of the rooms and check off and make sure that the home is safe. All right? So if we look through, and I'm not necessarily going to go in order of the brochure, I'll go on this and then we'll talk about this. So inside the home, right? Remove clutter. Don't leave items in walk areas or stairs. And I'll give you the two biggest places that you want to look at. How many of you, I know I used to do this all the time. I used to put a big thing of stuff on the stairs. And I think in my mind is I'll put it on the stairs because if people see it on the stair, my children or my husband, they'll know, oh, this needs to go upstairs. So they'll take it up with them. No, it just sits on the stair. And then what happens? Someone forgets that it's there. It's dark out. They walk down the stairs. There's something on the stairs. They trip over it. All right? So stuff on the stairs. The other thing, what I want you to do, either again, if you're a senior, or even for yourself, young, certainly for your family members who are seniors. Most seniors, all right, including myself, get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. All right? So if you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and it's dark out and you've left something in the path between yourself and the bathroom, right? That is a big tripping hazard. So one of the things I encourage you to do is take a look at where the bed is. Take a look at the path from the bed to the bathroom and making sure that path is clear. Because if there's a lot of things in the way that someone has to navigate over or through, they're much more likely to trip in the middle of the night, right? The same thing goes with telephone and electric cords, right? Make sure that those cords are not going across an area that someone has to walk through, because that's a huge hazard. If you have to carry something when you're using the stairs, hold it in one hand and the handrail in the other. I should have brought it, and Stacy, I'm going to send it to you. There is a really good organization called Rebuild America, and they do home modifications for seniors who are lower income, who can't afford to have modifications done themselves. So sometimes we all have a stair rail on one side of our stair, but for someone who maybe the other side is their bad side, they need the rail on the other side. And so sometimes for some folks, seniors, they need rails on both sides of the stair. So there's simple modifications that you can do. All right. Inside your home, I know a lot of people like to have throw rugs, area rugs in their home. You have to make sure that area rug is secured to the floor so it doesn't flip up like it does in this picture and can be a trip hazard. Or sometimes you'll see those rugs that'll they'll get loose and they'll kind of bubble up in the middle, makes it uneven, and again makes it a trip hazard, so you have to be careful. All right. The bathroom. This is a huge area for falls for seniors. So different simple things you can do is adding grab bars in the shower, the tub, the toilet area, using a shower or a tub mat that has a no grip on the bottom so that when you're in the tub or you're in the shower, it's not slippery on the bottom. Sometimes consider putting a bench or a stool in the shower, right? And then also using an elevated toilet seat or replacing your toilet, because remember we talked about this, very difficult to do. Well, toilet seats tend to be, especially in the older homes, now in newer homes, they're making the toilet seats higher. But in a lot of the older homes, older apartments, the toilet seats are pretty low. So the lower the seat, the harder it is to get up, right? So sometimes it helps in the bathroom if you have someone in your home that is older and has more difficulty, they're a little bit weaker, maybe they have some health conditions, is very easy to buy a little elevated seat for the toilet so it lifts it up. And if I'm here, it's a lot easier for me to stand up than if I'm all the way down here. And so sometimes it's just those simple little easy changes that you make that can really have a huge impact. All right? The other thing you want to take a look at is proper lighting. Right? Have a lamp or a light switch that you can easily reach without getting out of bed. Use night lights in the bedroom, the bathroom, the hallway. There are night lights that you can get that don't stay on all the time. So if you're like me, I like it to be total dark when I sleep. So even a little night light would bother me, but you can have motion detected night lights. So simple thing, you plug them into the outlet and they don't come on until they sense movement. So if I was lying in bed and I'm walking to the bathroom, I have a night light in the path to my bathroom so that as soon as I get up and start walking, the night light comes on and I can see where I'm going. All right, keeping a flashlight handy, making sure light switches are both ends of the stairs, right? Outside your home, making sure during the winter you're clearing the snow and ice from the entrance and sidewalks. Some people will paint edges of outdoor steps so that they can see them, right? Keeping your outdoor walkways well lit. All right. Certainly not all falls can be prevented. So really quickly, I just want to let you know that there are some programs that, that we have at the hospital that we do. So first thing is, I ask people, if they fell, do they know how to get up from a fall safely? Right? So that's important. What do I do if I fall on the ground? Right? Especially for seniors, learning how to get up from a fall in a safe way so you don't injure yourself more. So if you look in this picture, I don't think, no, it's not on here, right? It says, getting up quickly or the wrong way can make your injury worse. So you want to look around for a sturdy piece of furniture or the bottom of staircase. Don't try and stand up on your own. Roll over onto your side by turning your head in the direction you're trying to roll. And then you want to move your shoulders, your arms, your hips, and finally your legs over. And then you kind of push your upper body up, right? So you want to lift up your head, pause for a few moments to steady yourself, and then you can see you get up on all fours first, right? Crawl, so get up on all fours, crawl to that sturdy furniture, and then stand up. Because if you fall in the middle of here, there's nothing around, and I fall, and I try and get up, and remember, we're talking about also seniors who are not as strong, weaker, may have some physical limitations. They're in the middle of the room, they fall, and then they just immediately try and stand up. The likelihood of them falling back down, pretty high. So what we recommend is get on all fours, look around, what's the most sturdy thing? Crawl to that chair, and then use the chair to help me provide support to stand up. All right? So again, simple things like that are going to help in terms of preventing. So you can see, you place your hands on the seat, 1 foot forward so it's flat on the floor, and then you get yourself up. Right? The other thing, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but for some people, we have some people that based on their physical, their medical condition, they are very high risk for falls, right? People who are on multiple medications, people who have Parkinson's or MS, much higher risk for falls. So there's people who just are very, very weak. They're at high risk for falls. If they fall, we know that they're not going to be able to get up on their own. So one of the other things that puts people into an emergency room sometime is not the fall. It's the lying on the ground for 10, 15, 20 hours before help arrives, right? So I always ask seniors, especially seniors who are at home by themselves, either all the time or for a long period of time, if you fell and you couldn't get up, what would you do? And this is what I don't want to hear. I would wait until my son or my daughter got home, or I would wait until someone called me and then they'd know something was wrong. Well, lying on the floor for even 4 or 5 hours can be very detrimental to your health. So there are the medical alerts. Virginia Hospital Center has one that if someone fell, they could push a button. Live person comes up over the machine, says, "This is Lifeline, is everything okay?" And they can send for help. Or there's buttons that have built-in fall detection. So if someone fell and they couldn't push their button, it detects a fall, and it will call a family member or friend to say, "Hey, come to the house," right? So again, it's just thinking about if you have a loved one in your family who's at risk, what can you do to help them prevent falls? Can you encourage them to get exercise? Can you make some changes in their home to make their home less risky for falls? And then if they did fall, what plans do you have in place? All right? So that just talks about it. And then finally, you want to talk to your daughter. Right? Daughter, not to your daughter, to your doctor. Ask your physician about fracture and fall risk. Inquire maybe about a bone density testing. Make sure that you're up to date with all your screenings. Make sure you review your medications with your doctor. Virginia Hospital Center, for those of you who are familiar with the hospital, we have an outpatient pharmacy there. And at that outpatient pharmacy, they do free medication reviews. So you can actually make an appointment and you can bring all your medications in a plastic bag, and the pharmacist for free will meet with you and go over and explain in detail to make sure that you're taking your medications the proper way. So that's a free service that we do over at the hospital. All right. So just in closing, right? So if you look in here, right? You have this little checklist, so you can go back to your home or your family member's home, and you can kind of go through this checklist and make sure that their home is safe. Because again, remember going back to those statistics, 1 in 4 people over the age of 60 fall, right? A lot of those falls can be prevented. And I'll just close with the reason it's so important is quality of life, because if someone falls and breaks a hip, right, which is a big, hip fractures from falls is huge. For most people, their quality of life after that goes down, and there's a certain percentage of those folks that that are not able to go back home. They end up having to go into a nursing facility, which most of them don't want to do. Most people want to age in place. So again, it's like anything. The key thing is we want to prevent things from happening versus wait and start working on things after they already occur. All right. Any questions at all? A couple things I wanted to point out in this newsletter here. I just wanted to point out in the back of this as information on screenings that we do. So these are done at our Carlin Springs, which is about 1.5 miles away from here. If people are interested in just not going to the doctor and being able to get their bone density or their cholesterol screened, we do that. We also have free healthy aging lectures once a month. So there's no cost for these lectures. They're on a variety of different topics. So if you're interested in that, you can come. We do different topics all the time. Our one coming up next week is on colon cancer prevention and early detection, because March is Colon Cancer Awareness Month. Right? Pardon? The lecture is going to be, so it's next Wednesday, 11 o'clock. You know where the urgent care is, right on Carlin Springs? So it's about 1.5 miles from here on Carlin Springs at the Virginia Hospital Center Carlin Springs campus. And we have a physician going to be talking about colon cancer awareness, early detection. All right, thank you all very much.